Hey, Dan here. When I first started writing proposals a long time ago for the Boeing Company, one of the big mysteries was, how does that evaluation process work? When you submit a proposal, it gets taken up by the customer, and after that, you just never quite know exactly what happens to it. I presumed at the time that there were a bunch of people who read it, and I knew that they were looking at the evaluation criteria. But I really never knew what was going on inside, behind the curtain, if you will. It's a big mystery to most people. And so one of the things I wanted to do on this particular series of videos was to tell you a little bit about how the evaluation process works. Now, knowing how the evaluation process works lets you figure out how you can talk to the evaluators as you're writing your proposal. In other words, the more you know about how the process works, who looks at your proposals, what they're looking for, the easier it is for you to figure out where to say what about your particular approach, and especially the benefits you bring to the customer. So, here's the tutorial entitled, How Evaluators Evaluate. It's essential to understand the customer's evaluation process and what the evaluators are looking for. If you don't understand how your customer evaluates your proposal, you will not know how to give them what they need to award you the highest score. Because make no mistake about it, proposal evaluation is all about the score. But before we start, let me cover what you'll learn in this video. I'm going to tell you 3 fundamental facts about proposal evaluation. I'm going to talk about who reads your proposal and what they look for. And then I'm going to give you 4 things to remember about how evaluators score proposals. All right, let's get started. The 3 facts. On competitive procurements, meaning more than one firm is submitting a proposal, it's the evaluator's job to figure out which of the firms is best suited to be awarded the project. This process boils down to these 3 facts. Number 1, evaluators grade each proposal against a set of criteria stated in the RFP. Number 2, the proposal with the highest score wins. And number 3, your job is to write a proposal that scores the most points. This last is sort of stating the obvious, I know, but I'm always surprised when proposal teams lose sight of the fact that they are writing a proposal that will be scored and that there is a set of criteria evaluators must follow when scoring the sections they read. Let me say a few words about the scoring criteria and where they come from. On competitive procurements, the customer will release a solicitation document. It could be an RFP, an RFI, an RFQ, a tender, whatever they call it. But in this document will be all the requirements that you have and you need for preparing the proposal. It'll also include the specifications for the technical processes or products that the customer wants to buy. One section of the RFP or the solicitation will be something called the evaluation criteria. The evaluation criteria are the sole means by which the evaluators score your proposal. And the team with the highest score, based on the evaluation criteria, wins the procurement. This is the evaluation criteria from an actual RFP. You can pause the video here and read it if you want to. This is a straightforward enough statement. The customer has laid out the topics to be addressed in the proposal right there. And here's a hint. When you are putting together your outline, you should address each of these topics in the order they are presented in the RFP. This makes it easier for the evaluators to find what they're looking for. I talk more about that in another video on how to outline your proposal. Okay, they've also stated that if you don't address these topics, you risk having your proposal thrown out. I'd take this very seriously if I were you. The second paragraph states clearly that the evaluators will be looking at whether or not you understand the project and have a clear approach to meeting the objectives. You should take note of this emphasis. And finally, the customer has included a sample of an evaluation score sheet. This tells you how important each topic is by listing the max points you can get per topic. This may be all you get in terms of understanding what the evaluators will be looking for in your proposals, but it's enough. Now let's take a look at a couple of samples of a score sheet filled out. In this example, the evaluator, Norm Abelson, has read Acme Inc.'s proposal and has determined the numerical score for each topic. Note the total score, 131 points. Now here's the sheet Norm filled out for Joe Dokes Inc. It's virtually identical to the Acme score with one tiny exception. Norm wasn't as happy with their response to Item 1, Project Team, as he was with Acme's response. and that means that the Joe Dokes Inc. proposal gets 130 points total instead of 131. In Norm's eyes, Acme wins by 1 point. And yes, it can be this close. I've seen proposals lose by a half point before. If the other evaluators score Acme higher as well, then Acme wins the competition, or at least advances to the interview if there is one. These people make their assessments based on their professional opinion of how well the proposals address the evaluation criteria, and that's it. Their assessment cannot be based on anything else. And that takes us to the next point. Who are these evaluators, and what will they look for? To answer this question, you must first understand that many people will read, score, and discuss your proposal. Evaluation boards are made up of a team of people. Some you may have met in your meet and greets with the customer or during site visits before the RFP came out, but there will likely be some on the panel you have not met. The customer's job in assembling an evaluation team is to find people who are most knowledgeable about the technical and operational facets of the project. These folks will apply their professional judgment as they evaluate and score your proposal. So, when you write your proposal, you must consider and address the needs of all the evaluators. If you fail to do that, you will likely lose. Now, I understand that it's next to impossible to know exactly who will be serving on this evaluation panel. Customer's not going to tell you that, that's for sure. Now, if you've done some work with the customer before the RFP dropped, which you should be doing, you should have learned at least some of the names of the people who will be serving on this panel. But you won't know them all, that's for sure. What you can know, however, are the different levels of evaluation and the function each level serves. I've imagined this as the evaluation pyramid. In almost every competitive proposal evaluation, there are 3 levels of screening, with each level looking at very different elements of your proposal. There's the first level that includes specialized subject matter experts who look for compliance and technical competence. There's the second level whose job is to synthesize the findings from the first level and to make their own assessments of your ability to do the work and then make recommendations to the level above. And then there's the third level, which is where the final decision is made. Let me say a few words about the people at this level. Evaluators at the first level of evaluation take a look at the technical or specialized aspects of the proposals. Now, they may be engineers, technicians, scientists, operations guys, maintenance guys, whoever it is who understands the technical nature of the work being proposed on. Now, the first level of evaluation is where these specialists take a look at everybody's approach, everybody's proposal in terms of how they will meet the requirements and determine whether or not the proposers are qualified, capable, experienced, understand the issues, etc. Now, some of the people at this first level may work for some of the people at the second level. They can only use the evaluation criteria to score. They're not supposed to be comparing proposals among each other, although, hey, they're human and that happens. And they don't get a chance to look at the prices either, although their assessment of your technical capability will come into consideration as the final decision maker decides whether or not your costs ultimately are reasonable. Let's take a closer look. Members at the first level look at the technical or specialized aspects of the proposals. These are engineers, technicians, operation folks, and other subject matter experts. Here's what these guys do. They may read the entire proposal if they are required to by the evaluation guidelines, but they are focused on the technical sections for which they have expertise. Their specialized opinion will significantly influence the score in those sections. You need to keep these readers uppermost as you write the technical sections. They read for specific details to determine your ability to do the work required. They score you according to the RFP requirement. They want to see how well you understand the problem. And then they prepare findings for analysis in the next level above. Their main job is to determine if you are capable of executing the technical work required to complete the program. If the project requires, say a good deal of surveying to be accomplished, a surveyor will likely serve on the panel to read those sections in the proposals. Okay, the people at the second level are often managers who represent the different functions within the customer's organization. Now, they're not going to be so concerned about the technical or compliance issues. They figured that the first level evaluators are taking care of that. Now, these folks are big picture people. They're going to be looking at the totality of the project. They're going to be trying to see whether or not you bring a comprehensive solution. Do you have the right people? Do you have the right processes in place to manage risk? Can you manage schedule? Can you manage the technical work? How about costs? All of these sorts of things that make an effective project are the sorts of things these people are going to be looking for. You can very easily find your program manager or project manager on this particular panel. Maybe the chief engineer, or maybe some of the engineering functionals. Who knows? It all depends on how the customer has structured this particular project and how the customer has structured the requirements in the RFP. The key to remember with regard to these evaluators is that they look at the big picture. We'll talk more about that in another video. Now, here's what this team does. They read the entire proposal. They look for strengths and weaknesses. They look for discriminators between competitors. They read the cost proposal for realism and compare it to the technical proposal. And they prepare findings and recommendations for a final decision. The second level is where the results of the first level screening are compiled, collated, compared, and otherwise analyzed. These people also look for discriminators between the competing firms, what makes your offer different and better than the other guys. They look at the cost sections of the proposal. The folks at this level then prepare a set of recommendations that they kick upstairs to the third level, which is where the final decision is made. Now, the third level comprises usually just one person: agency director, assistant director. If you're proposing to the Department of Defense, it could be a high-ranking officer, a general, an admiral, a colonel. Now, sometimes this level comprises a group of people. For example, the school board is often the final authority for selecting an architect to build a school building. There are three things, though, to remember about this group, whoever occupies this group. Number one, they probably do not have an appreciation and understanding of the technical aspects of the job. Number two, they are very busy people, and this is not the only thing on their plates. And number three, they will rely heavily on the recommendations and the analysis of the second level. Now, here's what these folks do. They read the second level findings and recommendations. They probably will not read the proposal, but they may read the executive summary or cover letter. They make a final decision based on second level findings and recommendations. And they will usually not go against second level recommendations and findings. So in my experience, virtually all competitive proposals go through this type of evaluation process, especially those written for federal, state, or local agencies where public money is at stake. Even many commercial customers evaluate their proposals in this way, though. It's an easy way to distribute the work among the evaluation team and to make sure that each requirement is addressed or not in each proposal. In almost every case where a customer is soliciting multiple proposals for a competitive procurement using an RFP or some other document that has evaluation criteria, this is the general process. All right, that's the evaluation pyramid. It should help you get a better sense of what the evaluators are all about once they have your proposal and the criteria in front of them. There's just a couple more things I want to say about evaluators. Well, 4, I guess. Number 1, evaluation is not a process of selection. It's a process of elimination. These people make decisions just like you do. You first evaluate all alternatives according to a set of criteria you have in mind. When an alternative fails to meet a set standard criterion, we eliminate it from consideration. Evaluators use the RFP criteria and the points available to do this elimination. Do you demonstrate competence in the area of specialization required by the RFP? If not, points off. Do you show a thorough understanding of the problem by explaining why your approach best suits this particular scenario? No? Points off. Do you address all the work scope items? No? Points off. The more points off, the lower you stack up in the final ranking. Evaluators find it much easier to find things wrong than to find what's right. That's the way they can narrow the field, and that's exactly what they do. Number 2, the evaluator never adds points. She always subtracts them. If a section or criteria is worth, say, 30 points, the evaluator starts at 30 and begins taking points off as she finds things she thinks are wrong. Number 3, evaluators will look for compliance first. The easiest way to take points off and to eliminate a proposal is to find violations of the RFP requirements. This is the first thing evaluators will look for. And number 4, the team that loses the fewest points wins. Well, duh. Okay, that about covers the evaluation process and the people. In summary, number 1, evaluations are performed by committee. No one person will read your entire proposal from cover to cover and render a selection decision. Your final score is the accumulation of scores based on the professional judgments of many different people. Therefore, you must write to all members of the evaluation team. This means that your proposal must address the needs of the people on the evaluation committee. Number 2, there ain't no such thing as an objective evaluation. Evaluators assign scores to your proposal sections based on their professional opinions of how well you have met the requirements of the solicitation. These opinions are based on their professional judgment for sure, but at the end of the day, the score you get is what an evaluator felt you deserved. When it comes to assigning a score to your section, she will give you an 8 out of 10 and not a 9 out of 10 because, well, the section felt like an 8, not a 9. Didn't feel like a 7 either, for that matter. If they have to justify their scoring, they will use examples of where you succeeded or failed. But when it comes to objectively scoring what essentially is a value judgment, it's hard to measure feelings. So, your job is to make the evaluator feel as good as possible about giving you the highest score she can. You can do this by paying attention to the third essential truth. Subject matter experts look at how well you understand the issues inherent in this project. The evaluators will assume that all the competitors can meet the evaluation criteria. If they couldn't do the work, they wouldn't be bidding. So what they're looking for is some clue to how well you will do the work. They will find this in your explanations for why you selected the specific approach you did and how well it fits in with the existing situation at the customer's environment. Therefore, you must give details of your approach to show you understand this specific project. The more you show your familiarity with the customer situation, the more comfortable the evaluator will be in giving you a higher score, or not taking points off. And finally, evaluators never read to pick a winner. Their goal while reading proposals is to eliminate losers. Selecting a winner is hard. Eliminating losers is easy, especially when you have a list of criteria next to you to assess the score. Therefore, you must do whatever it takes to avoid being eliminated. So, remember these 4 points, and if you prepare your proposal with them in mind, you'll be a step closer to winning. You can always send questions and comments via the form on the page, and don't forget to check out the rest of the videos. And until next time, happy proposaling.